What if I told you world governments have been secretly using drones and other aircraft to modify and control the weather for decades? Would you believe more than 1,000 train derailments occur each year in America? And of those accidents, at least 85% are carrying hazardous materials. Join us as we uncover the truth behind these shocking events and leave you to decide for yourself what the government's true intentions are. Get ready for a startling revelation that will leave you wondering about what really goes on behind closed doors.
Recent spate of high-altitude objects shot down by the U.S. military over North America. A total of 4 have been brought down in the past 2 weeks, but we really only know anything about the first one, shot down February 4th and later recovered off the coast of South Carolina. U.S. officials say that was a Chinese spy balloon. The Chinese say it was a weather-monitoring aircraft that drifted off course. 3 other unidentified objects were then brought down since then, one in the icy waters off northwestern Alaska, another in Canada's Yukon, and a third in Lake Huron. Let's go to our chief White House correspondent, Kristen Welker, right now. Kristen, the president has taken some dings from both sides of the aisle over transparency in all this.
He absolutely has, Lester, and these remarks come amid that mounting pressure for him to address the American people and to give some information about the Chinese spy balloon and those 3 unidentified objects.
And here is the president.
Last week, in the immediate aftermath of the incursion by China's high-altitude balloon, our military, through the North American Aerospace Defense Command, so-called NORAD, closely scrutinized our airspace, including enhancing our radar to pick up more slow-moving objects above our country. In doing so, they tracked 3 unidentified objects, one in Alaska, Canada, and over Lake Huron in the Midwest. At their recommendation, I gave the order to take down these 3 objects due to hazards to civilian commercial air traffic and because we could not rule out the surveillance risk of sensitive facilities. We don't yet know exactly what these 3 objects were, but nothing right now suggests they were related to China's spy balloon program or that they were surveillance vehicles from any other country. But make no mistake, if any object presents a threat to the safety and security of the American people, I will take it down. In addition, I've directed my national security advisor to lead a government-wide effort to make sure we are positioned to deal safely and effectively with the objects in our airspace. When one of these high-altitude surveillance balloons entered our airspace over the continental United States earlier in the month, I gave the order to shoot it down as soon as it would be safe to do so. Now, we'll also continue to engage with China, as we have throughout the past 2 weeks. As I've said since the beginning of my administration, we seek competition, not conflict with China. We're not looking for a new Cold War. And we'll responsibly manage that competition so that it doesn't veer into conflict. This episode underscores the importance of maintaining open lines of communication between our diplomats and our military professionals. Our diplomats will be engaging further, and I will remain in communication with President Xi. Now look, the other thing I want to point out is that we are going to keep our allies and the Congress contemporaneously informed of all we know and all we learn. And I expect to be speaking with President Xi, and I hope we are going to get to the bottom of this. But I make no apologies for taking down that balloon. Thank you very much.
This deal with China compromised by your family's business relations.
Sir, Mr. President, there has been criticism.
Did you overreact?
Mr. President, there has been criticism that this was an overreaction that was done because of political pressure.
You come to my office and ask the question when you have more polite people.
Mr. President, why have you chosen Poland for your trip to mark anniversary of the war? And what's your message? What?
When are you speaking to President Xi, Mr. President?
Dubai is making it rain in a sweltering desert by zapping clouds with electricity using drones.
Fascinating, isn't it? Before we talk about what's happening in Dubai, let's talk about cloud seeding in general, because a lot of people, I don't think, understand what cloud seeding is. And this has been going on for decades, by the way. This is not something that's brand new. But traditionally, what cloud seeding is, it involves using aircraft or drones or even some cannons to push silver iodide up high into the clouds. Why silver iodide? Because that has the same crystallized structure as ice. So once it gets up into the clouds, it starts to accumulate ice on it and these large raindrops, which helps, especially in a cloud mass that's not really going to rain. It helps to bring rain and especially snow down.
So it works.
It does work. So over in Dubai, which is what you're seeing here, they took it a different step, and what they basically did, they had a fleet of drones that flew up into cloud cover, and they used electrical charges to force water droplets to combine into larger ones.
So not silver, not cloud seeding as we know.
No, they're not using the traditional silver iodide.
The things that I really want people to know is that this event has kind of three parts. So Friday night, we had the derailment around 9 p.m., in between 9 and 10. And residents that were right at the site, were evacuated. Then the next day, they evacuated more people on Saturday because it was still burning. And at this time, we didn't know what was on the cars. We heard maybe it was vinyl chloride, maybe it was 10 cars, maybe it was 5. We really didn't have a great picture. So we were told that if you were outside of that mile zone, you're okay. And they kept saying the same thing over and over again on the media and in the press conferences. There's no toxins in the air. There's no toxins. Don't worry. Sunday night, we got an alert on our phone that there had been an additional explosion and that the fire was out of control again. And to just be aware, there was really no evacuation for us, just people that were a little bit further out from the radius. So they announced to everybody that they were going to do a controlled release. And I'm using air quotes when I say controlled. I already was experiencing symptoms I have asthma, so I was having shortness of breath already, and was concerned, from that burn, I already had irritation. But the problem is we had forecasted high wind gusts up to 45 miles an hour. We would get a lot of wind in our area. The hills usually break it up, but it was announced that it was going to be very windy. It went over 4 counties, 4 to 5 counties in 2 states, actually 3, because the panhandle of West Virginia was also affected. So we have Ohio, Pennsylvania, West Virginia, all affected by this huge mushroom cloud. You've all seen the pictures, I'm sure. So these industries are killing us in more than one way. I wanted to evacuate. We had family that was telling us to come, but then there was this massive shelter in place order put down. Do not be out if you don't have to, shelter in place. In the same breath, this is out of an extreme abundance of caution. There's no toxins. There's no toxins. There's no toxins. There's no toxins. That's all we kept hearing. From day one, we've been fed what wasn't the truth. And now we find out with this EPA report that over 10,000 gallons of oil went into the ground, that the vinyl chloride was double what we thought. And there was diethylene glycol, and there's other chemicals. Norfolk Southern, from what the EPA says, did not report this to the EPA in a timely manner.
So what do you think? Are we witness to a chaotic new narrative forming right before our eyes? Please like and share this video, and let's start a conversation. Thank you for watching. Good night and good luck.